Hello and welcome to Teague's Take. It's a little bit of a special episode as, George is not here this time. It's just me. And since it's just me, that means I kind of get to do whatever I want to this week. So I've got two guests lined up today where one of them is going to be our Big Ten liaison. I'll say we went to school together. He also has to root for a team with an absolutely dreadful offense. They are they are probably the worst offense I've seen in a long time. But their defense is usually pretty good. So we're gonna talk a little bit of Iowa football and a little bit of Big Ten football, and then following him, I have Ed joining us. You may remember him from last season, Tennessee Hate Week. He's a PSG Talk contributor. Actually, he's the founder and owner of PSG Talk, but he's a volunteer through and through. And we'll talk a little bit of SEC East, and I'm also forgetting some other things. I don't have the YouTube stream pulled up like I'm supposed to. I can't see the chat. Give me a second just to make sure. Make sure I'm not missing anything. And then I think it's also customary that I'm supposed to say, a few words of something, some kind of monologue, as my dad does. He calls it his run out. So just, some advice to anybody who needs to hear it. Keep learning. No matter how old you are, keep learning. Keep trying to improve your craft. I'm working on it every day as the new defensive coordinator at John Paul. This is my first year doing it, and I'm learning a lot every day, week to week, game to game. And I have to remember sometimes that the fun part is the improvement. The fun part is not always winning a whole bunch of games and things. It's knowing that you are becoming better at the thing that you've strived to do. So with that, let's transition and bring Glenn into the screen here. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, JT. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm just making it. I'm rushing. I'm trying to calm down. Practice went a little bit late. Had a few issues we had to work out as staff. We got it. Came up here. Both kids are yelling at the wife, so trying to get one to bed. And man, it's been the last 30 minutes has just been hectic. So, hey, NFC, glad you're here. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. This is going to be our first trial at a call-in show. So after I am done talking to Glenn and Ed, at some point in here in the chat, I'm going to drop a link for people to queue up. Anybody who's watching the live show can queue up, and we'll try to get you on the screen. Can't promise that I'll get you on the screen. But I'm going to try really hard to do that, and you can jump in and be on the show with us. So, look forward to that. So, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's talk about your Iowa Hawkeyes, because I think I had messaged you on Discord week 1, and I said, when is Iowa going to learn to stop messing with these Dakota schools, be it North Dakota State, South Dakota State, or otherwise? I don't know. Yep. Maybe just in general. Maybe Iowa needs to stop playing these Dakota schools. And then I'm trying to get my soundboard ready. Then they scored 7 points. It was what I've been hearing called a gentleman's touchdown. What? Which is a field goal and 2 safeties. Mm-hmm. Hey, so who said you can't score on defense? The defense is outscoring the offense with 4 total points. So, as an Iowa fan, how does watching stuff like this make you feel?
Well, to be honest, after watching last year, I had some optimism coming into the season because I thought, surely the offense couldn't be any worse. And clearly I was wrong. But no, I mean, it's really just been a continuation of what we've seen the last few years under Brian Ferentz. And, it's a very predictable offense. And, they're pretty much unwilling to try to use, a quarterback with some legs to try to extend plays. Even though looking back at recent teams and, the last 10 years at Iowa, the best teams always had somebody that could extend a play. And Spencer Petras quite simply can't do that. I mean, he can barely get his feet set. And, this is third year starting.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Yeah, he just really is not that guy. I mean, if you're looking at, even just for example, total QBR, from ESPN, he's gotten worse in,
was it him that had now? I am going to apologize to Petras if this was not him, but was he the one that had a 1.1 QBR week 1?
Yeah, he was able to bring it up to 3.4 after week 2.
Oh,
yeah. Oh. So he is second to last in all of FCS in total QBR.
Well, who's last?
The quarterback at Temple that got benched 1 quarter into the team's first game.
Oh, so he's only played a quarter.
And he's in danger. He was the starter, named the starter coming into the year, and he's in real danger of losing his job to Kurt Warner's son, who I think is a true freshman, maybe redshirt, but a freshman nonetheless. And so the next lowest, if we're just going off the, just go and get these throw some of these stats out. The next lowest in the Big Ten is 54, and that is Connor Bazelak at Indiana, who is the Mizzou reject.
I remember him.
Yeah. Yep. So, right now, Petras has a QBR 50 points lower than Bazelak. No offense to Connor Bazelak. But I mean, like I was alluding to, I mean, it's a bit of a trend. I mean, he, granted, was, even his first year starting 2020, weird year, so you were kind of given a, new starter, first year starting in 2020. That was, you're thinking there, there'd be improvement from there, right? His QBR was 61.4 in 2020. That was 10th in the Big Ten. Last year, it was dropped to 49.2, which was second to last in the Big Ten. And then now, obviously, through 2 games, small sample size.
Second to last in the country.
Second to last in the country, yeah. And really the issue, it's not like we're wanting Iowa to start running, any option, offense or anything like that, design QB draws. That's just never what, even Kirk Ferentz is going to want an offensive coordinator to do. If we're being honest, they always stress complementary football, which we'll get to later if we want to. But really the best quarterbacks that have had success at Iowa in recent times. So, in more the current environment of, college football, have always been able to, extend a play, get out of the pocket a little bit, or even pick up, those first downs, when everything breaks down, or even just at, a handful of yards. And Petras can't do that. And part of the problem is that he has inconsistent footwork, and that's been a problem since he started. And you did expect that maybe, would be able to be fixed. But considering that Brian Ferentz at one point was a quarterback's coach,
is no longer.
No, I don't believe he's a quarterback's coach anymore. So I think he's the running backs coach this year. I think that's his position group. He's jumped around, and quite frankly, other than tight ends, he has not shown. He hasn't had a good position group. And that was when he was with the Patriots. That was he was in the tight end room, coaching up the tight ends. Granted, he had Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, I was going to say. That's
yeah.
That sounds like what I was doing in 2019 when we went to state. I was coaching running backs, but no, I wasn't. Our running backs were just good.
Yeah. So, and so, yeah, so that's, I mean, and I, everything I've heard, in every interview with Petrus, I mean, he seems like an upstanding young man, and, all of Iowa, at least, I mean, you're always going to have some people that are wishing ill will on 21-year-olds, but everybody likes him as a person. And it's not that nobody wants him to not succeed. It's just that it's clearly not working.
Yeah, it's not working. So I mean, maybe he just needs to be an analyst so that you can pretend that he's doing something. Quick shout out to Craig. What's up, Craig? How you doing? I am enjoying coaching. I think you probably missed my run out a little bit, but yeah, no, I'm enjoying coaching. I'm enjoying the grind. I'm enjoying being a dad again. But yeah, some days are a little harder than others, much like Iowa's offense.
Most days are bad for Iowa's offense.
Well, I listened to the Solid Verbal podcast a lot. College football podcast, a very, very good podcast. They love what they do over there. And they were asking the question of like, would you rather have a team that had fantastic offense but no defense, or a team that had a fantastic defense and no offense? And me being the defense coordinator that I am, they're like, give me the defense and no offense. And I'm thinking back to 2011 LSU and Alabama type games. I'm like, give me that all day. I enjoy that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then you throw in 2022 Iowa, and I'm like, I mean, those offenses were bad. Bad LSU and Alabama that year. I wouldn't even say bad. They were just highly average, super pedestrian.
But against very good defenses, and it was the defense making plays, that was, really driving that.
Yes. In this case, in that case, it looked like, you can there's a difference in like high powered offenses that are playing bad defenses. I'm not saying that that's what, like Texas Tech is doing, but you can look at a game where you're like, man, that offense is just good and nobody can stop them, versus a high scoring affair where it's like, man, these defenses just couldn't stop a cold.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it seems like Iowa's offense is more on that side of like, it's not that they're being stymied. It's just something's not there. They remind me somewhat of the Cowboys offense. They just don't look very good. And
so I will qualify, for this year. Obviously, there's plenty of things that have been seen since Ferentz was hired, and then even when since Petrus has been the starter. But really the qualifier I will give to this Iowa offense right now is that they currently only have one scholarship wide receiver able to play. So they can't spread the field. And, if they do, I don't think they've lined up a single set with three wide receivers this year so far. And when they do, they're either putting Sam Laporta, who's the top tight end out there, or even the backup tight end is lining up, out wide technically as a wide receiver. So even when, there's really only one guy with speed out there that's going to beat anybody. So it's just insanely predictable. Obviously, this is worst case. I think this is obviously, the offensive issues that they've had in the last 3-4 years have just been, made glaringly worse by, the lack of weapons to try to, spread the game out, and even just having a guy that can step up. And outside of Sam Laporta, he's probably the only person that I would trust to be able to make a good catch on third down to, extend a drive. I mean, on that note, I think they only have they're averaging 10.5 first downs a game, which is dead last in FCS. And so, I mean, they just don't have somebody that can step up and make that play right now. And so I think that is the best explanation for what is happening in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, way larger problems that that make it this bad. You could be in a more dynamic offense. I think you could be missing some playmakers and still be able to make it work with this good of a defense that Iowa has been putting out under Phil Parker for years now. And quite frankly, Iowa is lucky that Phil Parker essentially has no interest in becoming a head coach. He's content with just having a top 20 defense every year at Iowa.
Hey, well,
which great
if
news
they pay him
us.
well, then
yeah,
by all means. Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Big Ten at large. So we had Michigan doing this dual quarterback. One gets to start one game, the other one starts the other game. I think it's been all but official that what's his name? JJ
McCarthy?
Yes, McCarthy is going to be the starter.
Yep.
Does this change the outlook for you for what Michigan can do this year as a potential conference champion?
I don't think so. I think Ohio State is just still head and shoulders, above, at least ahead over, everybody. The other contenders, would you Michigan and maybe Penn State has looked good enough to potentially, maybe cause an upset in the East somewhere to be a factor. But I don't think anybody out of the West is really a contender this year. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that
it's not enough juice to beat Ohio State again.
No,
I guess on the road this year.
So what?
I said they're playing in Columbus, so not enough juice to get it done on the road this year.
I would have a hard time envisioning that happening, but that's why we watch college football, right? Anything can happen. So, but yeah, and I think I would say that Ohio State is still, pretty firmly the favorite, as much as that pains me to say.
Okay, and then last one. Hold on, I have to send a link to Ed. I've been slacking on my duties. I apologize, but I wanted to talk about Scott Frost and his firing. Was it time? Was it too early? Was it too late? Did they just wrote it out for the season, or what do you think here?
If I were Nebraska, I would at least waited until October 1st when the buyout dropped, saved a few million, because this season I don't think is going anywhere, no matter who's the coach for Nebraska. But I think it was time. I don't think that they. I mean, I get it if I was, a Nebraska fan or even the Nebraska AD, having, kind of the home guy coming in, trying to rebuild the program, as much as they probably don't think it needed rebuilt, but that's another discussion. But it just didn't work. But I also sympathize, how many one-score games did they have? And they were like
a lot. And
they were a little and a lot in those. Those could have easily flipped. But even then, I think that it's still probably, you're still not getting to the level that Nebraska thinks that it should be at when they fired Bo Pelini, who was going 9-4 every year, and they decided that wasn't good enough. I don't think Scott Frost, from what he has shown in the this is the third year, fourth year.
I think this might be your. It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
I've seen enough.
Yeah, but I mean, when they fired Bo Pelini, the AD in Nebraska, said we have to evaluate our program, and by name called out Iowa because they felt that they were at Iowa's level. And thankfully, Iowa has not lost to Nebraska since then. So that's been fun. But I think they need to do a long look in the mirror at Nebraska and try to figure out, what they are, where they're at, because I don't think that they are going to attract the quality of coach unless, I mean, they may go through a few that are having success at a smaller school like Scott Frost, and may have to cycle through some of those, maybe try that to get to rebuilding a program. But I mean, it is a program that definitely needs rebuilt and has some demons, if you will, right now that that we'll see if they can exercise here.
Yeah, well, I think they've got to recruit a little bit better. I think that there needs to be a plan to somehow get back into Texas.
Yeah,
I'm sure, I know that Nebraska fans, or at least the majority of them, are not saying that they need to be competing for national titles, but they should be looking at the Iowas and the Indianas and Minnesota and kind of saying, we shouldn't be getting smacked around. Like we should be at least contending to win our division and going to Big Ten championships. And I
100%.
wonder how many of them would maybe trade some of that Big Ten money back to say, all right, now with the current state of things, let's just go back over to the Big 12, since Texas and Oklahoma are leaving, and see if we can get a clean slate over there, and try this again. But
yeah, that would be a little tough to swallow with the money that comes in through the Big Ten. I think
James
it
Knox
gives
says
them a lot more flexibility to try some things and do some more things to try to recruit. Because yeah, I mean, I think they were, depending on where you look at, 32nd, in terms of the 2022 recruiting class. That's honestly, I guess that's a drop off from 20. But yeah, within the past few years, they've been right around Iowa. So, I think that's probably where they're at right now. But I definitely agree that they are caliber of team that should be contending when things go right in the West, right there with Wisconsin, obviously. And
yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's not trending in the right direction either.
No, that's true. But for the past 10, 15 years, they've been right there.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm just saying, well, one, let me get the comment. James Knox says if Nebraska can't run a physical spread option, it flat out can't be done. But what I'm saying about Nebraska, like right now, why fire Scott Frost today or yesterday or whenever it happened, is because with at least your third season, seeing that Iowa's offense isn't looking too hot. Right now, Wisconsin is not looking like they should be looking. Indiana ain't very good. Who knows about Minnesota? Minnesota might be good. They might not be good. But at least with Minnesota, you're just like, hey, I don't know yet. Like, they could actually be pretty good. But nobody is even considering whether Nebraska is it. And then you go and you lose to Northwestern. You should be beating Northwestern. You lose to Georgia Southern. Inexcusable. Clay Helton and Georgia Southern should not be beating you. Like, if you just looked at today, and you had a little bit of like what's happened in the past, but if you just looked at today, you should, as a Nebraska fan, you should be like, hey man, we should be at least tied for first place in the division right now, just because that's the way it goes. Like, we should be 1-0 in the division, 2-0 on the season. Do you mean to tell me we can't beat Northwestern and Georgia Southern? dude's got to go. And if Nebraska has to pay an extra $7 to $8 million to get him out before the end of the month, Nebraska's got a lot of money. I think that's okay for them to do.
Definitely.
So here we go. Ed is here. So Glenn, I'm gonna let you go.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being on. Let me make sure I get your applause here.
Thank you.
And we might have you back in a second. I don't know if Pac-Man's going to answer me about whether he wants to talk some NFL football or not. But for anybody else who's watching live right now, we are going to be bringing on Ed, talk about some Tennessee football and some SEC East, maybe a little bit about the SEC as a whole, and then we're gonna try to open it up for some call-ins. So, Glenn, appreciate you being here. And
thanks again.
I'll holler at you if I need you to come back. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to riff by myself for 30 minutes or so.
Sounds good. Have fun.
All right, see ya. All right, Ed. How's it going?
James, how's it going? I'm going with my real name. Tennessee's undefeated, so I can still go by my real name for now.
All right. Well, let's not get too excited too quickly. You had an overtime win. By all means, which was a thriller. I didn't get to see it myself. I wanted to watch it. But unfortunately, or fortunately, the team that I actually coach and the defensive coordinator of right now, we played Saturday at 1:30. So I missed a lot of the slate this week. So I wanted to bring you on for a couple reasons. One, because Tennessee, why not? Two, just SEC East. I know how you volunteers feel about the Georgia Bulldogs just in general. They look scary good again. And I know, now that you're out in Utah, you might have a little soft spot for the Utes. But they go down to Florida and lose. Then Kentucky goes in and beats it. Like there's just so much to talk about right now. So first, let's talk about how you think Hendon Hooker's looking and how you feel about the win over Pitt, because Pitt's a pretty good football team. You went to Pitt on the road. They had just beaten West Virginia in a that was a dogfight there. So how you feel about the Volunteers right now?
Feeling pretty good right now. I mean, it's hard to argue with 2-0 start. You started the season against Ball State. You completely demolished them.
Well, you're supposed to.
You really can't make any generalizations after a game like that. It was an underman opponent at home. Tennessee did what they were supposed to do. I was a little worried after that game, though, because the defense didn't get any sacks on the Ball State quarterback, and you would expect Tennessee to get after the quarterback, especially a team like Ball State. So going into the Pittsburgh game, I knew the offense would be there for us, but what would the defense do? I was surprised at how often they were able to get to Keaton Slovis, knocked him around, actually knocked him out of the game right before halftime.
Really? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so for me, Tennessee's defense, if they sit back in like a zone coverage and kind of just let the offense do what they do and just kind of react, they're going to get picked apart all day. For me, the Tennessee defense needs to be blitzing, needs to be aggressive, needs to be opportunistic, and that's the way they were against Pittsburgh, and they were able to do a few things there. You mentioned Hendon Hooker, a little bit of a slow start against Pittsburgh, but then he started to pick it up. But I'll tell you, everyone talks about Tennessee's offense being this just very fast, high-flying offense, and I get a little worried because they're so fast that they're able to give if they don't get first downs, if they don't score.
Oh, you're saying the tempo, they're not maybe I don't want to say they're not fast in like speed, but they are also just an up tempo. You can go 3 and out real quick and send the defense right back out there.
Exactly. They don't huddle. They move very quickly. I think they have the most plays run of any other team. I mean, they are just lightning quick, and so if it doesn't work out, then they turn the ball over to the other team. They have to punt, and then they're putting a lot of pressure on their defense, which just isn't that great if they're not getting to the quarterback. And so against a team like Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, I'm a little nervous about that because, in the second half against Pittsburgh, they only scored 3 points. So you would think, okay, this great offense, it's fast. You need to do more than score 3 points in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so you brought up Kentucky. Let's talk Florida in conjunction with Utah and Kentucky, because maybe I was drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, because after the Utah game with Florida, I was like, so you mean to tell me that Dan Mullen might still have a job if he would have just gave the job to Anthony Richardson? And then Kentucky showed up and said, "What's up?" And I didn't actually think that Kentucky was good enough to win the game. I know they still have Will Levis, but without Rondell Robinson, I was like, okay, Kentucky's good. They are a fundamentally sound team, but it seems like every year they just got like this one dude that comes in and like hopefully elevates them to a little bit above average. But to be able to go into the Swamp, beat Florida again, I'm really kind of wondering, like, what's up with Mark Stoops? And Mark Stoops maybe should be, tweeting at John Calipari and renewing that beef again about whether Kentucky's really a basketball school or not. But with those two teams, if you were asking me before the season, I'd be like, well, look, Florida's got a new coach. They're going to be breaking in a new quarterback. Tennessee's looking pretty good. Probably should be able to beat Florida. I wouldn't have said that Kentucky was as good as they showed this past Saturday. They're, like I said, they're a good football team, but I would have been like, Tennessee should probably beat them too. How do you feel? Like, where are you putting? You think those are close games? You think one is better than the other? What do you think?
Yeah, just going back to the Utah Florida game, I watched that. I do have a soft spot for Utah now that I live in Salt Lake City, season ticket holder, so I go to all and watch them a lot. And I feel like if that was game 2 of the season, Utah wins that easily. I think they didn't have a whole lot of tape on Anthony Richardson, and he just ran all over the place, and they weren't able to make the adjustments. And Kyle Whittingham, that's kind of on him and the defense not getting things sorted out. But we saw when Kentucky rolled in there, and let's give Kentucky their credit. This is now the 3rd time in a row, I believe, that they've taken down the Gators. So they have their number. They're not scared of them. They're very unlike Tennessee. For some reason, when we play Florida, we get tense and we make mistakes, and it's like we're in years that we're better than them, we still lose to them, and it's mind-boggling. But Kentucky just has no fear. They go into the Swamp. They'll play them at the grocery store stadium that they have, and they'll beat them. They'll beat them anywhere. So I was not as surprised to see that. Today, I don't know if you saw the news, the game at Neyland Stadium is sold out, and from what I'm seeing on message boards and local radio, the hype for this is similar to what it was when Lane Kiffin came last season, the game that I was at with the mustard and
so y'all gonna be throwing shit again, huh?
If Florida starts laying down and faking injuries, like it's going to be hostile is not even the right word. It's going to get ugly quick. People are going to be there. It's a 3:30 CBS game. People are going to be fired up.
Wait, CBS is still carrying games? I thought CBS
I believe so. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Hold on. I gotta fact check that, because I thought we had our new Disney overlords.
Tennessee's the CBS 3:30 game.
Huh. Look at that. I thought CBS was out.
The saving grace for Florida is that it's not a night game, and the fans there won't have more time to get inebriated. And
yeah. Well, we'll see.
But that game is going to be, if outside of Alabama and other games that people are watching, that's going to be the one you want to tune in for. And I think Tennessee right now, I think they can beat Florida. I think they're the better team. I think they have the better quarterback. I think he can throw better than Anthony Richardson, but it's going to come down to that Tennessee defense. Can they maintain the outside, keep Richardson in the pocket, and just hit him every single play? That's what it's going to come down to.
All right. Well, my dad is in the chat here saying that good old Rocky Top is more like an ant mound. So, speaking of that, you know, Tennessee Hate Week is the week of October 15th. So, you want to give me a preview on how you feeling about that game right now?
Well, I mean, I think Texas sort of showed the blueprint there. You have to play really tough defense. You need Alabama to make some mistakes. Very uncharacteristic from the Crimson Tide there, making, penalties, personal fouls. They got a couple breaks from the officials, which they normally do, so Tennessee will need to expect that. But, on the road, I would expect Alabama to take care of business. That's not a game that I would have penciled before the season that said, oh, yeah, we could win. I would like to keep it within 2 touchdowns. But as we've seen this past weekend, who would have thought Marshall could roll into Notre Dame, right?
Great segue there, because you were already in the Discord calling for a permanent playoff ban for
forever.
They
they were already very close to being permanently banned because when they do get in, they don't do anything and they get blown out. And now, after losing to Marshall, I'm sorry, they got to go.
Yeah, it's funny how the tune has quickly flipped with Marcus Freeman. He gets his first kind of game in the Fiesta Bowl, and they drop that one, and then you get a real first challenge with Ohio State, just right out the chute, and you look pretty good. And I thought that game was going to be a blowout, and it wasn't, but.
Their
My
wide
goodness,
receiver was out. That played.
Yeah, and Jigbo was out. Yep. But man, I didn't think I was going to be walking into the bar at 3:30 or whatever talking about Marshall. What do you mean Marshall's up but 16 points right now?
Am I mistaken? The running back coach is now the coach at Marshall. He was at Alabama. Is that right?
I don't know. I don't know who the head coach is.
Check my facts, and they got a bunch of transfers, a guy from Florida State. So like the coach for sure, he wasn't scared of going in there.
It is Charles Huff. Yeah.
So they weren't scared. And so people were kind of saying that, like, look out for Marshall. And so they take care of business. But if you look at Notre Dame's schedule at UNC, that's going to be tough. BYU, just right across the lake from me. In Vegas, that's going to be tough. They got to go to Syracuse. Dino Babers doing great things.
Man, they're going to lose to BYU. They're going to lose to BYU. They're going to lose to Clemson.
Yep.
USC might beat them. Like, you look at going into this, you look at their schedule and you're like, okay, no, there's some, they could probably, they'll probably lose to Ohio State, but they could potentially run the table here. But man, you drop one to Marshall like that, and everything looks harder. And look, don't sleep on Syracuse. You got to go to what was formerly known as the Carrier Dome, where teams go to die. I don't know, man. Not a good look for Marcus Freeman right now. I mean, I know they're not going to get rid of him right now.
He's too good of a recruiter.
Yeah, he's too good of a recruiter. This is his first year. It's his first time being a head coach. I think he'll figure it out. But man, right now
Jimbo, on the other hand, he's in trouble.
Jimbo. Look, I'll just go ahead and say it because I've been saying it at least privately for a while. I don't think Jimbo's a good head coach. He's just not. He's not. He ain't it. And I understand he won a national championship, but he's not it. I mean, this is why Texas A&M is the way they are. I mean, come on, man. You're losing to App State. And, App State's, I guess, App State's kind of known for doing this, right? They went into Michigan however many years ago and beat them, except that was kind of a shock. I know the score doesn't say it, but Appalachian State put them hands on Texas A&M. They dominated that game from beginning to end. And I don't know. If I'm an A&M fan, I don't know how I feel about this one. That one's got to hurt.
They can't get rid of Jimbo, or maybe they can. If I'm mistaken,
they gave him like 10 years. They got to pay him way too much money.
Yeah, he's got like an $85 million buyout or something crazy.
Yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous on what that is looking like. So, you know, the SEC has already been more interesting than I thought. I don't know really what to make of this Texas game yet with Alabama. I didn't get to watch any of the second half, so I'll have to go back and see. But, you know, I go back to 2019, and I'm thinking about, you know, Texas taking LSU to the wire that year. And then LSU goes and has a historic run, goes and win a national championship. Not saying that Alabama's going to do that. But if you remember, Texas, that was like the best game Texas played all year, and it went south quick. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of Texas we're going to get at the end of the year.
Did you see, I guess you didn't see if you missed the second half, when Saban, after the game was over, I guess one of the Alabama players were doing like the horns down sign. He just yelled at them. And you're in Texas. Is there a reason why they are so like protected that nobody could do a horns down sign, or you get like a 15-yard penalty?
Yeah,
I don't understand this.
All right. Well, first, let me address this comment. My dad says UTSA beats Texas this week.
100%. Yeah. They're celebrating a loss too much. They're going down. The Roadrunners are going to take them down.
All right. Well, I want to see the line on this game. The other thing is, look, I have many a conspiracy theory when it comes to the University of Texas here. You know, they are. I don't know how much you know about high school football, just around the country, but there are many different organizations. Most of the country is all under one organization. And Dad, since you're in the chat, you know, feel free to correct me if I'm saying anything that's false here. Let me know in the comments. I'll put it up. But Texas has its own governing body for public schools called the UIL, which is the University Intergalactic League or something. Who cares? Okay. And we follow a lot of the college rules. So I think there's only 3 states that actually allow you to cut block at all. That's Florida, Texas, and California, I believe. Might be Ohio instead of California, but I know Texas is one of the few states where you can actually cut block. It's also one of the few states where you can catch. This is beyond me. It's one of the few states where you can actually catch a kickoff in the end zone and take it out and return it. Because in most states, if it goes in the end zone at all, it's a touchback. But there's a lot of politics that go into the UIL system and what they do to private schools and how they treat the private schools here in Texas. Because, you know, I mean, even where you're at now, like the private schools are the better schools.
Yeah.
Not here. And who runs the UIL? The Texas Board of Regents. They do this. So, you know, they got hands everywhere when it comes to football in the state, which is, I still blame them for the collapse of the Big 12. That's why A&M's over here. That's why Colorado left and Nebraska left and Oklahoma tried to leave all those years ago.
Nebraska probably wants to come back.
Yeah, I was just talking to Glenn about that. They probably do. They probably do. We got a late comment coming in. Yes, sir. Great take, JT. As long as he does what the boosters say, stay out of their NIL and be bowl eligible, Jimbo has a job. Probably true. I mean, you can't give a guy $100 million 10 years and then tell him to kick rocks. That's just not how it works. So all that to say is there's a lot of money when it comes to the University of Texas, and they have their hands in a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that you can end up tying back to Texas, and that is why that's why they get the perception that they get here, and that is why you get the things that horns down being a 15-yard penalty is ridiculous.
When they come to the SEC, that's not going to fly. I can't imagine that's going to be a penalty. You know, they come to Neyland, everyone's doing horns down.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that's going to be around for much longer. You know, much like the Longhorn Network, how that used to be a thing. They're going to get rid of that, join the rest of the conference network like everybody else. I think there's going to be a lot of things that they are not accustomed to that they're going to have to kind of just deal with when they get to the SEC, because they won't be the biggest brand anymore. I mean, especially with Georgia doing what they're starting to do with teams like Oregon, beating them 49-3, and then just going home and. Well, I guess it wasn't really an away game. It was up the street. But still, you're not supposed. They weren't supposed to beat Oregon like that. Not like that.
Yeah, I think that win's not going to look as great because BYU is going up to Oregon, and I think they're going to have something for them. If you look at BYU's schedule, if they run the table, they're going to have some really high quality wins. They just beat Baylor. They're my kind of sleeper, maybe doing what Cincinnati did. If they can run the table here, they'll have a schedule worthy of it.
Well, I'm going to look at I want to look at BYU's schedule. Yeah,
they've got Arkansas coming to town.
Didn't they just play Arkansas?
Yeah, I think it might have been a home and home. So if they beat them, they'll have an SEC win. They're going to Oregon. One of the best
I was thinking they had already played Arkansas this year. That was Cincinnati, though.
No. Yeah,
that was Cincinnati, which was a great game. They beat Baylor. Sam Pittman, if you happen to be watching this program, BYU is at altitude. Take your team up there on Thursday. Do not show up on Saturday. Talking about you just gonna get up here on this mountain and play these boys. They're good. They're acclimated to this altitude. Do not make the same mistake Baylor did. Do not show up on Saturday thinking that you're just going to get here and play. You're not.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you want to get here early. It's definitely the altitude. It's not, Denver, but it's certainly something that if you're not used to it, if you have a lot of players that are from Texas, they're going to get up here and they're going to be breathing a little bit heavier. Kind of like, when Utah went to the swamp, with that humidity, it's not something we have here. So that's something the players had to get used to. So, yeah, but keep an eye on BYU. They're kind of a sleeper. I really like their schedule. We'll see what they do against Oregon, but they got some really solid players, so yeah, I
think if they win all their games, I think they'll be in the playoffs. If they beat Oregon, they beat Arkansas. Who else they got in here? They got Notre Dame. That'll still be a big win, unless Notre Dame just literally just falls off a cliff.
They're a big brand, so they can say we beat Notre Dame, even if it doesn't mean anything. The numbers wise, it's still the Notre Dame brand.
But masterful scheduling by BYU to get Baylor, Arkansas, and Notre Dame at home. Man, no, they got a shot, but they got to win it. They can't have it. They can't be getting beat 45-19 like they did against Washington last year. It's unacceptable.
Going back to the SEC, let me ask you real quick. Do you think Tennessee can do anything to Georgia? Because we might be their toughest game on the schedule before the SEC championship.
And I would have thought so before the season, but dude, Georgia. Look, Stetson Bennett showed me something that I didn't think was. I didn't think their offense was that good. I thought they were being carried. Well, they were being carried by their defense, but I thought that. The defense was so good, it was just making up for a average offense. I thought they were kind of like Alabama of old. But, man, with them 3 tight ends they got, they don't even need no receivers. Dude, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And so I'm gonna try to drop this link in the chat, and we're gonna see what happens because we're almost up on time. But I want to try to do this call-in thing, and I don't actually know if it's going to work. So, folks, I'm going to put it in the chat if you're here. And I'm going to see if I can get you at least in the show. I don't know if I'll get you on the screen or not, but I'm going to try my best. I really am. And while we're waiting for folks to join or not join, we can keep talking about college football at large. Before we try to get some people in. So I hadn't, the Big 12 is I don't know. Oklahoma State looked kind of good. I don't really know what to make of Oklahoma. What are they? They're ranked 6 right now, but like, are they really ranked 6? I feel like they're kind of getting the benefit of the doubt. They got a new quarterback and a new coach. Like, the whole staff got turned over. You know, it's one thing for like Georgia or Alabama was like, all right, the coach is the same, quarterback's the same. One of them had a Heisman winner, the other one had a national championship. Like, you know, Iowa State's got the same core coming back, but as far as Oklahoma, there's so much turnover. So, are they really going to be
crazy if Nebraska beat them? You know, with the interim coach and Scott Frost is out and Oklahoma at Nebraska, and Nebraska somehow pulled off the upset. Wouldn't that be incredible?
That would be one of the greatest storylines I think ever. Not just this season, just ever. Because you know that a Scott Frost coached Nebraska team right now could never.
No.
You could. They lost to Georgia Southern, man. Clay Helton beat them. Clay Helton is a USC reject. I don't. Look, we might only beat Texas by 1 point, but at least we didn't lose to Georgia Southern or Appalachian State. We didn't do that.
Or you didn't lose to Georgia State like Tennessee did.
Hey, Georgia State almost beat us one time. We scheduled Georgia State because they ran an offense similar to Auburn, except they fired their coach and they started running the triple option that year. We was not ready for that triple option. They bullied us, and we were lucky to get out of there just because we were better than them. But
isn't that what Nebraska ran back in the 90s when they were good? A triple option.
Yeah, either that or a wing T or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they need. So whatever Army is running, I think that's what Nebraska did.
Yeah. Well, let's run through some other games that are going to happen in week 3 here. So we just touched on Oklahoma, Nebraska. We got Georgia, South Carolina. How are you actually feeling about South Carolina?
Didn't South Carolina beat them a couple years ago? This is a sneaky game that you might want to keep an eye on. You know, check in on it. It's probably going to be a blowout, but Beamer ball. There was a lot of hype for South Carolina coming into the season. Year 2.
Yeah, so, but I mean, even in our own Discord, let me pull up the actual message. I didn't agree with it, but
something I said.
No. This was shout out to Drain member BK in our PSG Talk Discord.
Yes.
He said he has to say that they suck again. Rattler is above average, but we have the worst OC for any top 50-ish program. Hogs win today by 3 touchdowns. I don't know whether they won by 3 touchdowns or not, but I took issue. So they only beat them by 2 touchdowns. Only 2 touchdowns. But I took issue with they have the worst OC for any top 50-ish program, and that's why I had Glenn on earlier today because Iowa still exists. So they put up 30 on Arkansas. You're playing on the road. Can they actually hang with Georgia?
I mean, you wouldn't think so. But again, you just look at those upsets that happened this weekend, and I think that South Carolina has a lot to prove. It's going to be at home. That place is going to be rocking. They're going to have sandstorm, blasting. And so, is Georgia for real? Is this offense for real? Can South Carolina come up with something? My money would probably go to Georgia, but like I said, keep an eye on this one. It could be close. It could give Georgia a scare, sort of like Texas did to Alabama. We're still early in the season. Mm-hmm. There is no preseason. These are college kids. They're still getting up to speed. They're still, ironing out some wrinkles. So I think South Carolina could put a scare into Georgia. So that's going to be one I'm going to keep an eye on.
All right. So if you're a betting man and I tell you that it's South Carolina plus 24.5, you taking that?
Yeah, I would take it. I'd
really?
take South Carolina on the points. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let our guy know you said that, and we'll see what he says.
If I get it, then I might actually start betting again.
Okay, well, let's look at another one here. Number 22nd ranked Penn State versus Auburn. Auburn might be butt cheeks.
Yeah,
Penn State
I'm not
is
sold on their coach.
Oh well, neither is Auburn. Apparently, they tried to get rid of him. And in there is TJ Finley hurt? Is their quarterback down?
I don't believe so. I think pulling it up here. I think he should be able to play. I'm not seeing anything where he's going to be out. So Penn State comes in. They probably should have lost to Purdue, if not for some crazy time management, coaching decisions.
I'm laughing at this comment here because Glenn's in the chat here saying Iowa minus 23 versus Nevada. Glenn, if you're still here, I see you're still in the room. Yeah, get your camera back on. Let's have you hop in here. Let me get you back on the screen. Because everybody knows that the Iowa's not. They can't cover this because they can't score 23 points.
Is that a real spread? Nevada just lost the Incarnate Word.
Oh my God!
And they're favorites over Iowa?
No. Iowa minus 23.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, got a little nervous there.
Okay, hold on. Glenn, I'm gonna send you a new link here, or I'm gonna ask you to refresh on a new link. And we're gonna jump into. You know, we're gonna send you a new link too here in just a second. I'm gonna have you refresh, Ed, and get the screens right. All right. Well, while I'm waiting for them to jump back in, hopefully that worked. If not, I'll have to contact them on Discord. You know, we're just out here kind of chatting for a bit. Time's almost up, but I wanted to dive into this Iowa being favored by 23. This is absolutely hilarious to me. Like, at what point can Iowa actually score that many points against who? I mean, if they couldn't do it against South Dakota State, I don't know who they can score a touchdown against those guys. How are they going to score a touchdown against anybody else? Ed is back. And okay, he's here. Oh, he's still in guest 2. That's okay. We will. Can you hear me, Ed?
I've got you loud and clear.
Okay. I don't know what happened to Glenn. Glenn, come back. Hit that link again if it didn't work. Yeah, we're just gonna produce on the fly here. Thought I had something going, but let's get what do we have here? A scene. We'll put guest 2, which is you, Ed, in here. If I can find it. Yep. I know you can't see what I'm doing right now. Oh, there's Glenn. All right. 1 second. And once I get Ed cropped in the way that I'm supposed to, we're gonna transition over here. Bam. Look at that.
Impressive.
Thank you. I've been scrambling a lot. Usually, my dad riffs while I do this, and he can just be talking while I'm putting all the things together. So,
that's why he's a pro.
Yeah, yeah, he is. And I gotta give him his props. He is now the Cowboys analyst for CBS on the local news here in Dallas.
To add to that,
congratulations for being professional enough
JT,
to
the over/under
to land you a gig on the news. But enough of that. We're gonna talk about this Iowa thing real quick. I can't hear. There he is. He's back.
over under with. Hey,
Back.
We couldn't hear you. You got to start over.
oh boy. Did you the over under for that game is 39, which I feel like that's a very low over under for a 23-point win. So I guess they do trust Iowa's defense, but they're putting a lot of stock in an offense that so far has not existed.
Well, Ed was saying that Nevada just lost the Incarnate Word.
That's true. This is true. Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this game? Like, how
It's,
is this going to be
it's gonna
televised?
be, probably on Big Ten Network.
Is this some kind of form of national torture that somebody's going to try to make us watch here? I do want to. So you guys have talked to each other, or at least been in the same space, but you've never seen each other's faces. So, this is the other moderator, Ed. This is the other moderator in our Discord, and
Good to meet you, Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn, this is Ed.
Trust
This
me.
is our fearless leader in the PSG talk world. So maybe one day, want to have another off day, we need to come in here and talk a little footy, because he's a Bayern. Hold on, I'm pointing to the wrong person. He's a Bayern fan.
Okay.
We're here with PSG. I know they played today. I didn't get to see that game either. I was at practice, but pretty sure we won 1-0. But enough about that. You have a podcast where you will dive into that. So check out PSG Talk on your favorite podcast app. So we were just kind of going around the horn here, talking about different games that are on the slate for next week. We've already got some bold predictions in the chat and on the show saying that UTSA beats Texas this week. Goes to Texas and beats Texas. I can't get behind that one yet. But I want to talk about this Texas A&M Miami game. Who you taking? And maybe I need to give you a spread too to see whether or not this is. So I've got the spread at Texas A&M -5.5, which really means like Texas by a field goal because Texas A&M by a field goal because Texas A&M is at home. If you were betting people, pick this game.
Glenn, you want to take this one first?
Oh gosh, that's really a toss-up. Like I feel like I would probably take A&M. You said A&M was favored by
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably take A&M, but I would not feel good doing it whatsoever.
Oh, we got a shout out real quick. Big shout out to the B-ball school, Virginia Union, for pounding number 2 Valdosta State 45-40. Hey, that a baby.
There you go.
Running back Jada Byers, 320 yards on 32 attempts and 3 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 23 yards and touchdowns at the D2 level. So look at him, 4 touchdowns. Hey, that's a dude right there.
Very nice.
Shout out to Mr. Byers there. Yeah. So Ed, what you got for you taking Texas minus the point? Texas A&M minus the points?
I know that stadium can get rocking, and it will be for this one. I saw there's photos of the students camping out for tickets and all that. I don't believe in Jimbo. I think he's on the ropes. I think Miami is going to get it done. I think they're going to beat them. I'm going to say by a touchdown. I think Mario Cristobal is a real head coach, and I'm not convinced that Jimbo Fisher is a real coach. And I think the blueprint has been laid out. If Appalachian State can go in there and beat them, I think Miami, with their resources and players, can certainly go in there and take care of business. So I'm rolling with the Hurricanes.
All right. I don't know. You made valid points there, Ed, where you're talking about Mario. I got a lot of respect for Mario Cristobal as a head coach. However, he's only been in Miami for 2 games. I do think they're going to be physical. What I'm trying to talk myself out of is this. A&M has got to be embarrassed for last week. So I feel like this is where they got to turn it on, and they really got to, like, maybe they don't win no more games after this, but they damn sure got to win this one.
Let me ask you. There's been a lot about this NIL stuff and how they bought all of their players. Is there something to be said that maybe a lot of those kids are there just because maybe they got the biggest NIL package or whatever?
Oh, I mean that's totally something that can be there. So I think that it is a good joke of like, hey, you bought all these players, then they turn around and lose to App State. The thing I always remember is they're all freshmen. He ain't went and got him a quarterback yet. I don't know why he thinks that Haynes King is the guy, though. But whatever. But yeah, I mean, look at Quinn Ewers. He took that deal and went to Ohio State, collected his money. Now he went back down to where he actually wanted to play at. So, maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't. But I think I'm gonna have to leave Miami here. I just feel like what I saw, like, is Miami better than App State? Probably, maybe at least a little bit. I mean, they got the athletes. Tyler Van Dyne back there throwing passes. I'm not a real big believer in Haynes King, but I think it'll be a good game for the simple fact that they're not playing in Miami. I think that's where it's at on that. So if I was betting man, I would definitely take Miami plus the points. That's for sure. Miami plus 5. Give it to me all day. Whether they win straight up, I'm not sure. But I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said about only beating Sam Houston State by 31 to nothing. I don't know.
It's certainly the marquee game of the week for me.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is probably the best game all week. Then you start getting to week 4, but let's not jump ahead too far. I mean, there's BYU Oregon.
That'll be a good one. We'll see if Oregon's for real or if BYU's for real. That'll be a really good game.
Anybody got the line on that game?
I don't.
Well, I'll find it real quick. ESPN says, Oregon minus 3.5. Oregon's at home, so it's kind of even. Is what that tells me.
And against Baylor, BYU was without 2 of their best wide receivers. I don't think they come back for this game. So will that come back to hurt them? It didn't hurt them against Baylor, but they'll need to score points against Oregon. That place is nuts as well. One of the loudest stadiums that we have in college football. So great test for both of them. I think you're right. I think that's probably the second best game on the slate.
Well, I think that I'm taking BYU plus anything because Bo Nix is still the quarterback at Oregon. So like I'm just out on Bo Nix. We got another one here. LSU Mississippi State. That actually might be a pretty good game. It might not be like huge marquee, but as far as just what might be evenly matched teams, all right. Let's just jump into the LSU thing real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Brian Kelly. First, just tell me whether or not you think Brian Kelly actually made the right decision to leave Notre Dame to go to LSU. So far, was it the right decision? Glenn, you first. No,
I don't think so. But I've never really been all that impressed with Brian Kelly to begin with, and he had something decent going at Notre Dame. Was obviously comfortable there, at least so I thought. But I just don't think it's a culture fit between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing for me. I don't see it working out, but
well, they gave him 10 years too now.
Yeah, I know they committed to it, but I don't like the fit personally.
What say you, Ed?
I think it's a good fit for Brian Kelly. Him going down there, he gets his money. And I also think at Notre Dame being independent, maybe he wasn't hearing from the administration what he wanted to hear in terms of, are they going to join the ACC or Big Ten? maybe that uncertainty was the reason why he wanted to get out of there. Maybe he wanted to get out while he had accomplished a lot, getting Notre Dame to the playoff and the championship game. Certainly big accomplishments. We see the struggles that Freeman's having right now. So it may not be a good fit for LSU. Maybe that was the wrong guy. But for Brian Kelly, if LSU comes being in that recruiting territory, the kind of the caliber of players that you can get, I think he maybe wanted to test himself. Maybe he wanted to see if he could do it in the SEC West, take down Nick Saban. I think he's gonna probably wish he didn't do that, but I at least applaud him for trying. He
had struggled against Mike Norvell. I think the problem that I had with Brian Kelly, with the Florida State game is not that he lost, but it's kind of how it happened and what I saw from Brian Kelly on the sideline, and that's why I think I'm with Glenn on I don't know if it's the right fit because Coach O, just the coach, not the person that allowed all the other things to happen behind the scenes, but just the coach, would have lost his absolute mind had they muffed 2 punts like that and tried to, there would have been some form of emotion. And I think that the school and the stadium demands that from their head coach. It doesn't necessarily have to be animated, like a Saban or something like that, but somebody who you can look at on the sideline and see that they care. Not saying that Brian Kelly doesn't care, but he's not the quirky personality of Les Miles or the as Cajun as they get with Orgeron. So I'm not sure how he's going to be received down on. I mean, especially when you come down here and already just start faking an accent like you've been here forever. I don't.
Who do you think gets fired first, Freeman or Brian Kelly?
Brian Kelly.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because I don't have faith that Notre Dame will pull the plug if they need to. You gotta. The LSU fired Coach O 2 years after winning a national championship. And it wasn't like they didn't go to a bowl game the year after that. It was a 2-year decline, and they were like, all right, get out. You're done. I mean, they got rid of Les Miles, too, who also won them a national championship. They let Brian Kelly sit there forever, not winning national championships. I think the leash is much shorter at LSU, especially if they don't feel like Brian Kelly is really into it, because I think the students and the fans will try to run him out like Tennessee did with Greg Schiano.
Yeah, but Brian Kelly's got a 10-year, $100 million. I was just looking it up. I mean, you can't get rid of a guy after 2 or 3. It's kind of like the Jimbo deal. They may have to stick with them. Whereas Marcus Freeman is the first Notre Dame coach to lose his first 3 games. And we talked about earlier today about the schedule. I mean, if he only wins 6 games this year, I don't think they fire him. But next season, he's certainly on the hot seat, wouldn't you say? Whereas Brian Kelly, if he only wins 6 games, you can't do anything about it because you're going to – the buyout's astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I found it kind of funny that the only coach that Brian Kelly was able to convince to go down to LSU with him was a special teams coach. And then they get 2 field goals blocked and muff 2 punts. It's like, hey, man, not a good look. It's not a good look.
Yeah, well, I hope they keep sucking because Tennessee goes down there this season, so hopefully we can take care of
they should beat them. Based on what I saw from Florida State, they should beat them. But
it'll be a good one though. Yeah, Mississippi State.
I don't even know what to think about Mississippi State. They're just any Mike Leach team is like, they're not going to run the ball. Even if I feel like if you're playing Mike Leach and you just don't put a defensive line out there and no linebackers, he's still not going to run the ball.
Probably true. So what do you think about this game then? Because the line is 2.5.
Yeah, the line is 2.5. Mississippi State is favored. 2.5. They are a road favorite. So I'm going to take the home dog here This is a 5 p.m. kick, which is pretty much a night game. So this might be a LSU's going to put on their, LSU don't wear purple jerseys. They only wear purple jerseys when it's a night game at home against a conference opponent. So they might put on the purple jerseys. They just had a feel good win against Southern. They've officially found out that Nussmeier is not the guy. It's Jaden Daniels for sure. And they're going to try to get Keishon Butte rolling in this game. I don't, unless Brian Kelly really is just that inept, which maybe he is. I don't see this game. I don't see any reason why LSU is not winning this game by a touchdown at home in that kind of environment.
Did he put LSU stuff back in his Twitter bio? Wasn't it some of the wide receivers and LSU players like removed everything LSU related from their bios?
I heard this. I'm just gonna look up his Twitter real quick and see.
They took that loss really hard, but I like them to bounce back against Mississippi State. It'll be close, but give me the Tigers.
Nah, he's still retweeting. Oh no, that's from a long time ago. He hadn't tweeted in a while. Who knows? Well, all right, fellas. I appreciate you guys jumping on, helping me fill the spot. We didn't have anybody in the call-in queue. That's okay. That just means that I don't have to fill around trying to get it to work. But I got one baby asleep, and I gotta go help with the other baby. I know, Ed, you know how that is.
I know how that is, very much so.
So, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'll roll the intro, and then I'll talk to you guys soon, or I should say outro. So appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks again, JT.
Peace.
Ed, good meeting you.
Good to meet you, Glenn.
I'll talk to you in PSG talk.
Absolutely. Good luck to your Hawkeyes.
Thanks. Same to you.